There comes a moment in life when you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to accept? Not from others, but from yourself. Because the truth is, how people treat you is a direct reflection of the standards you set. If you allow someone to make you feel like an afterthought, if you tolerate being put second, third, or even last, you're sending a message that says, I am okay with this. But here's the thing, you were never meant to be an option. You were never designed to be someone's backup plan, a convenience they turn to when they have nothing better to do. And the moment you truly understand that, the game changes. Think about it. How many times have you adjusted your own needs, your own desires, just to fit into someone else's life? How often have you silenced your own voice just to avoid conflict, just to keep the peace, just to maintain a connection that wasn't even serving you? That stops now. Self-worth is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the foundation of everything, your relationships, your success, your happiness. Without it, you will always find yourself settling for less than what you deserve. And the worst part, you will believe that's normal. Let's break this down. Why do people accept being treated like an option? Why do strong, intelligent, powerful individuals sometimes allow themselves to be disrespected, overlooked, or undervalued? It's because deep down, there's a fear that if they walk away, they won't find better, a fear that being alone is worse than being treated as a second choice, a fear that they are only as valuable as the attention they receive. But that's a lie, a dangerous lie. And it's one that keeps people trapped in cycles of disappointment and heartache. The truth, your worth is not dependent on someone else's recognition of it. Whether someone acknowledges your value or not, it doesn't change the fact that you are valuable. A diamond doesn't lose its worth because someone fails to see its brilliance. It remains precious, whether admired or ignored. And this is where everything shifts. When you stop seeking validation from outside sources and start recognizing your own value from within. You have to decide right here and now that your self-worth is not up for debate. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to beg someone to see it. You just have to own it. And here's what happens when you do. Your entire energy changes. The way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you walk into a room. It all transforms. People can sense it, they can feel it, and suddenly, those who once treated you as an option start to realize that they no longer have easy access to you. Because when you know your worth, you stop engaging in situations that undermine it. You stop chasing people who aren't chasing you. You stop entertaining half-hearted efforts. You stop making excuses for disrespect. And guess what? When you stop accepting less, you start attracting more. Not just in relationships, but in every area of life. Opportunities start to open up. People start to respect you in a way they never did before. And those who once dismissed you, they start to feel the absence of your presence. This is not about revenge. It's not about playing games. It's about alignment. When you operate from a place of self-worth, you naturally remove yourself from anything and anyone that doesn't align with it. And when you do that, you make room for people who see you, appreciate you, and treat you the way you deserve. But none of that can happen until you make one simple decision: to never settle for being an option again. For too long, you've been playing by someone else's rules. You've been sitting in the passenger seat of your own life, waiting for them to call, waiting for them to care, waiting for them to finally see what they have in you. And what did that get you? Disappointment. Frustration, the painful realization that no matter how much you gave, it was never enough to make them treat you the way you deserved. But here's where everything changes. It's time to flip the script. What does that mean? It means taking the power back. It means stepping out of the role of the person who waits and stepping into the role of the person who decides. Because let's get one thing straight. When someone treats you like an option, it's not because you lack value. It's because they believe they have the upper hand. They believe they can have you whenever they want, on their terms, without consequence. And why do they believe that? Because you've let them. Maybe not intentionally, maybe not consciously, but through your actions or inaction, you have reinforced their belief that they can come and go as they please, that they can give you breadcrumbs and still have a place in your life. That ends now. Reversing the power dynamic starts with one thing: choice. For the longest time, they were the ones choosing, you were just reacting. They decided when to text back, when to make plans, when to acknowledge you. And you were left analyzing every little move, trying to decode what their silence meant, trying to justify their lack of effort. Not anymore, because now you are the one choosing. You decide who gets access to you. You decide whose energy is worth your time. You decide what kind of treatment you will and will not tolerate. And let me tell you what happens when you make that shift. They notice. The moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop reaching, the moment you stop revolving your emotions around their inconsistent behavior, something clicks for them. Suddenly, the person who was always there is no longer available. The person they assumed would always answer is no longer responding. The person they thought they could take for granted is no longer an option. And let me tell you something else. It's going to sting. Because people don't realize the weight of your presence until they feel the weight of your absence. They don't understand how much effort you put in until that effort is no longer there. They don't recognize the value of your loyalty, your kindness, your unwavering support until they look around and realize it's gone. And here's the key. You're not doing this out of spite. You're not playing games. You're simply realigning yourself with your worth. You're no longer investing in people who don't invest in you. You're no longer engaging in one-sided relationships. You're no longer giving someone a front row seat in your life when they've only given you a standing room ticket in theirs. The beauty of this transformation is that it's not about revenge. It's not about making them feel the pain you felt. It's about showing yourself that you deserve better. It's about proving to yourself that you never needed them to validate your worth in the first place. And as you rise, as you reclaim your power, as you step into the version of yourself that no longer settles, guess what happens? They come back. They always do. Because the moment they feel the absence of what they once took for granted, they start to panic. They start to remember all the things they overlooked. They start to wonder why they no longer have the same hold over you. But by then, the real question is, will you even care? Pain has a way of teaching you things that comfort never could. When someone treats you like an option, when they disregard your worth, when they fail to see the value you bring to their life, it can break you if you let it, but it can also build you into something stronger, something unstoppable. See, most people make the mistake of believing that revenge is about getting even. It's about proving a point, making the other person feel what they made you feel. But real power doesn't come from proving anything to them. It comes from proving something to yourself. The best revenge isn't a reaction, it's transformation. Because here's what happens when you stop focusing on them and start focusing on you. You grow, you evolve, you elevate, you become the version of yourself that they were never capable of appreciating. And when that happens, they don't just see the difference, they feel it. Think about it. When they left you questioning your worth, when they made you feel like you weren't enough, they expected you to crumble. They expected you to sit in self-doubt, to chase after them, to beg for answers that they were never going to give. They expected you to stay the same. But what happens when you don't? What happens when instead of shrinking, you expand? What happens when instead of dwelling on the past, you step fully into your future? What happens when you take that pain and turn it into power? They lose access. See, people don't regret losing someone when that person is still the same. They regret it when that person has become someone they can no longer reach, someone who has grown so much, elevated so high, that they no longer fit into their world. That's where your power lies. Not in bitterness, not in proving a point, not in hoping they feel the pain you felt, but in making sure that the person they walked away from, the person they mistreated, the person they failed to appreciate no longer exists. Because here's the truth. when you level up, when you start living the life you deserve, when you step into your confidence, you stop being accessible to the people who didn't value you. You stop being an option, not because you're playing a game, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that allowed that treatment in the first place. And that's when they start to notice. Because now they see you moving differently. They see you smiling, thriving, succeeding in ways they never imagined. They see that their absence didn't break you, it built you. And that realization, that's what stings the most. Because deep down, they expected you to stay where they left you. They expected you to remain in the cycle of waiting, hoping, and longing. They never expected you to rise, but you did. And now as they watch from the sidelines, as they witness the transformation they never saw coming, they begin to understand what they lost. But by then, it's no longer about them. Because while they were busy treating you like an option, you were busy becoming someone who no longer considers them a choice. When someone treats you like an option, your first instinct might be to react. Maybe you want to confront them, demand answers, or make them feel the pain they caused you. Maybe you want them to see what they've done, to acknowledge your worth, to finally understand that they were wrong, to take you for granted. But let me tell you something. Reacting out of emotion is exactly what keeps them in control. Emotional control is not about suppressing how you feel. It's not about pretending you're unaffected. It's about making a decision, a conscious, deliberate choice that you will not allow someone else's treatment of you to dictate your actions, your mindset, or your future. Because the moment you let your emotions take over, the moment you let their actions pull you into chaos, you've already lost the power. Think about it. When they ignore you, when they disappear and reappear on their terms, when they make you feel like you don't matter, what are they really doing? They're manipulating your emotions. They're testing your boundaries. They're seeing how much they can get away with. And every time you react, whether through anger, sadness, or desperation, you're giving them exactly what they want. But when you master emotional control, everything changes. See, people expect a reaction. They expect you to get upset when they ignore your messages. They expect you to chase them when they pull away. They expect you to wait, to wonder, to overthink. And when you don't, when you refuse to engage in their emotional games, that's when they start to feel the shift. Because nothing is more unsettling to someone who thought they had power over you than realizing they don't. The key is understanding that control isn't about being cold or detached. It's about discipline. It's about recognizing that your emotions are valid, but they don't have to dictate your response. It's about knowing when to walk away, when to disengage, when to hold your silence, not as a tactic, not as a game, but as a reflection of your self-respect. Imagine this. They send you a message after days of silence. The old you would have jumped at the chance to respond, to re-engage, to prove that you're still there. But the new you understands that your response is not just about a text, it's about what you're teaching them. If you reply immediately, if you act like nothing happened, you reinforce their belief that they can come and go as they please. But if you pause, if you take your time, if you make it clear that your life isn't on hold waiting for their attention, that's when the power shifts. Emotional control is also about choosing where you place your focus. Because let's be honest, how many hours have you wasted analyzing their behavior? How many nights have you spent replaying conversations, searching for clues, wondering if you did something wrong? How many times have you let their inconsistency ruin your peace? Now imagine what would happen if you took all of that energy and redirected it toward yourself, toward your goals, toward your passions, toward becoming the best version of you. Because here's the truth. Every moment you spend fixated on someone who doesn't value you is a moment stolen from your own growth. Every time you allow their actions to control your emotions, you give them power they haven't earned. And the real test is when they come back, because they always do. They always return when they feel your energy shift, when they sense that they no longer have the same hold over you. They'll test the waters, send a casual message, try to see if they can still affect you the way they used to. But this time you respond differently, not with anger, not with desperation, not with the need for validation. You respond with indifference, with confidence, with the kind of quiet strength that says, I am no longer available for this. And that's when they realize the option they once took for granted is now the person they can no longer reach.